Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped. Now behind me is a Skoda, and I'm actually in the Czech Republic finding out just how much I didn't know about the Skoda brand. It's the first time I've had a Skoda on the channel. There is much to learn, not only about how Skoda have developed up until today, but the future is really, really interesting. Now, when I was growing up, it's fair to say that Skoda, or should I correctly say Skoda, were the butt of a joke or two. They were known for cheap cars, low quality, lots of jokes. How do you double the price of a Skoda? Fill it up with petrol. Why does Skodas have a heated rear windscreen? To keep your hands warm while you're pushing it. What do you call a convertible Skoda? A skip. We've all heard them. But then Skoda became part of the VAG group, Volkswagen Audi group, and a renaissance began, and the quality of their cars improved and the desirability of their cars improved. And here we are today. They make some of the most desirable cars in the segments that they are active in. And I still think they make one of my favourite cars. I love the Skoda Yeti. Sadly, they don't make it anymore. But if anyone from Skoda is watching, please start making the Yeti again. I just think it's a wicked car. Anyway, this is their all-electric Enyaq. It's the first time I've driven one. And this video isn't so much a review about the Enyaq, although I'll be using this car as the backdrop of the conversation we're going to have. And so far, it's the first time I've driven in the Czech Republic as well. It's a beautiful part of the world, and the car's performing very, very well indeed. But I've been invited out to the Czech Republic by Skoda UK to really understand more about the story of what's happening currently within the brand. There's some big changes in terms of branding, there's some big changes in terms of sustainability and how they make their cars, and then this evening we've got some reveals of the next vision of where Skoda's going in terms of the cars that we've got coming to market in the very near future. So let's jump inside the Enyaq, go for a drive in the Czech Republic. Unfortunately, it's raining a little bit today, which makes filming a little bit tricky. Hopefully there's no rain on the lens, but let's jump inside this car, go for a drive, and I'll tell you more about what I've learned this morning and then also what's happening this evening. Okay, so we're now out and about driving. It's really interesting just getting used to driving in a different country. One of the big things I noticed is, surprisingly, I don't speak Czech, so all of the road signs are completely meaningless. But we've got a nice sat-nav route. So, as I said, this isn't so much a review of the Enyaq that I'm in. I'm really keen to get hold of one of these. We got ferried from the airport to the hotel last night in one, and a very, very impressive car. And this, for me, is my first immersion into the world of Skoda. So, you know, it's really great to start to talk to the Skoda PR team and start to plan some really cool content. I'm out here with Joe, Achilles, and we've got a couple of things that we're already talking to them about doing later this summer. But let's just talk about Skoda as a brand. And I'm probably going to slip into saying Skoda because I know that's what most of us would say in the UK, but as I said, it should be Skoda. So Skoda, I think in terms of brand revival, have been one of the great automotive success stories. They now are known for making quality cars with a really good price point, and they've got their VR sort of top of the range VRS models that actually give you the performance and decent price point, and I think that makes them a really interesting proposition. And they're there's a Yeti, look, hey! And the great thing about being in this part of the Czech Republic is, I don't know, 4 out of every 5 cars you see are Skodas. They're everywhere. So we've been this morning on a whole range of different workshops, meeting different people within the Skoda teams. And we started off, actually the first thing we started off talking about was the Skoda brand, and there's some big changes coming, and I know some of you might not think that's important, but there's big changes in terms of brand colours. You can probably see from my lanyard, these are the 2 brand colours that Skoda are now going to be using, and that means that we're going to see a refresh of all of their retail outlets. So all the main Skoda dealerships are going to be rebranded, and it's a really cool, fresh, new look. The Skoda logo's changed. They're going to use the word Skoda on the back of cars and on the front of cars rather than their badge. And all of that for me just, it looks like a real invigoration of the brand. Then they've got to think about this move towards all electric that every manufacturer is having to embrace. And we actually went round the production facility here in the Czech Republic, and they've got a number of different production facilities. The one we went round was super impressive. I love going round car factories anyway, but on the same line we were seeing plug-in hybrids and full battery electric vehicles being made. And when you take the bodywork off and you see underneath, I'll put some overlays now underneath a plug-in hybrid, and then you see the complete difference when you look at a battery electric vehicle with the skateboard design, the big battery packs. Sadly, we weren't allowed to film inside the factory, but it was fascinating to see how things are done, the quality, and you know, I think that for me is one of those things. Now Skoda are actually taking the lead within the VAG group on certain things, whereas before it would always be done by Volkswagen or Audi and then passed down to Skoda. Skoda are now at the forefront of quite a few really exciting projects. There's a big story about sustainability. So sustainability for them is, first off, in terms of things like materials, how can they get those materials as sustainably and eco-friendly as possible? From the leather in this car, using environmentally friendly tanning processes. They've got a whole program on recycling old bumpers. So the plastic of an old bumper from an old car, they basically put it through a process of grinding it down, cleaning it, removing the paint, turning it into small plastic pellets, and then using those pellets to injection mold new bumpers, pretty much one for one. So they're starting to look at trying to use recyclable products on things like bumpers, internal plastics, environmentally processes on the leather. But then the next phase, which I find really interesting, is then making sure that those products are recyclable in the future. So when a Skoda gets to the end of its life, can you take those component parts off of the car and recycle them into something else? And you might think, well, that's surely easy, and it's really not. They were saying if you're using something, even something like a kind of a fabric covering on a seat, but you then glue it to the underpinnings of the seat, then you've got the adhesive to deal with, and it starts to become very difficult to recycle. So it's really interesting, and we had the opportunity to talk to some of the designers and some of the people responsible for those projects and really ask them some big questions. The big question I asked them, we're using the Skoda HMI, human machine interface. I'm a bit old school, I use MMI, man machine interface. But yeah, the HMI, so they've got some really cool work around that, you know, bringing out their own apps, having a parking app where they can link with the various different parking operators. So you just basically pull up in a car park, and the car, you can make a payment through the infotainment system to pay for parking. How that infotainment system is integrated with the charge networks. I still think EV manufacturers have a huge distance to get to where Tesla are in terms of the way their cars are integrated with their charge network. Look, the sun's come out, it's beautiful. What a cool bit of road this is. So yeah, really, really interesting. And then this evening, we're going to get to see a reveal of 5 clay models looking at where the range is going, where the new cars from Skoda are going to be, what they're going to look like. So let's just jump to that. I'm kind of having to play time machine here and have a quick look at that. Now then guys, it is my pleasure to be joined by Johannes Neff, who is Head of Technical Development for Skoda.
Yes.
We've seen, it's not often when you come to a car launch you have so many things to look at. So 4 new vehicles and then the 2 new versions of Enyaq. I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about the thinking behind each vehicle and just enlighten us.
Yeah, okay. So very important for us was really to show here our family. And the idea what we are having in terms of which kind of cars do we want to develop for the future, and also for sure to get some feedback. Nevertheless, what we are showing here as well is our complete new design language, the so-called modern solid design language, which started with the development of the L-Rock, and you see a little bit how it develops. And from the L-Rock we used to use it for our PAs for the Enyaq and Enyaq Coupe.
Yeah.
And then the small BEV, and here the 7-seater, our flagship here, no? the Space BEV. These are the cars which have fully integrated our new design language.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously had a really interesting day today, both going around the factory, talking about the brand, seeing how things are evolving. It almost seems like a second renaissance for Skoda as a brand. You've grown from your history. You've gone through that phase of bringing out some amazing cars and changing people's perception of the brand. It almost feels to me like you're kicking on again into something completely new.
Yeah, let's say it's a little bit like that, no? Because there are 2 issues which are bringing us forward. One thing is for sure the transformation from combustion engines to battery electric cars, and everything what you are seeing here are battery electric cars. And the other thing was, with this step, with this transformation, for us the idea was we have to change something. No? We cannot go ahead like we are doing it now and to do the same thing only on battery electric cars. We said we have to change something, and with that was born the idea of the modern solid design language. And modern solid is not only a design language for us. Modern solid is a kind of thinking, is a kind of new thinking about clever ideas, about smart ideas, about how to design the cars, about how to market the cars and so on. And this was born with that, and what you are seeing here is now the work of 1.5 years, and we hope to bring everything into life.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. And in terms of onboard technology and the sort of whole living with proposition for EV, I think lots of people who haven't made the jump into a full battery electric yet, they're concerned about living with having to charge it in public and you know, range anxiety and those types of things. What kind of features have you got and ideas within these cars to help on that front?
Well, first of all, what I have to say is, yes, it's true. If you're driving a battery electric car, you have to do it a little bit in another way than you are used to it in a combustion car. But that does not mean that it is much more inconvenient. No? So it's more thinking about like you are doing it with your iPhone or something like this. No? Whenever you have the chance, you are charging, and we are supporting that with our charging map, which is included into the navigation. We are also supporting that if you make a longer trip, that we make a live adaptation of the distance you are still able to drive, and you get live data of which charging point you can use. So it's something which is not static, and perhaps you have more wind, you drive more upside, you are going slower, you are going faster. No, it's live. And also something like not paying anymore with your credit card, something like this, plug and charge. All these are functions which support the use and make it easier to use battery electric cars. And is exclusively in our cars.
Well, exactly. Well, one last question, because I know you're a very busy man. There's lots and lots of people want to ask questions. The most important question I want to ask you is, when are you going to bring back the Yeti? My favourite Skoda. You need a full battery electric Yeti. I think that would be a big seller.
Okay, so to be honest, what you are seeing here is really a great family, and it's not easy to bring that into a life for us. The Yeti I know the Yeti had always its friends.
It's like a cult following. Everyone
yeah,
loves
I know,
the Yeti.
I know about. I will take that with me.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So in a couple of years' time, when we come back for the Yeti launch, it's on me.
Yeah, I will remember that.
I'll hold you to that.
So nice
meeting
meeting
you.
you.
Lovely to meet you.
Yeah,
Take care.
thank
Cheers.
you. Bye bye.
Now let's get to very briefly doing a bit of a car review. First up, this is the Enyaq. It's got a 4-wheel drive underpinning, so twin motor setup. Very stable. One of the things I noticed from driving in the Enyaq yesterday, it's so quiet, so smooth. Even on these not particularly great roads from a road surface point of view, it's eating up all the lumps and the bumps. It's got a lot of performance under your right foot. A very, very impressive car. But the one I really want to get my hands on is the VRS version of this, the hot, sporty one. And the Skoda UK have one on their press fleet. So when I get home, I will be booking that in, and I'm going to kind of save all of my main comments about this car for that press car and putting it through some cool things. Is that, my friend, Mr. Joe Achilles? It certainly is. We're on the hunt for decent locations of trying to do some filming. So yeah, I think the Skoda story is a really interesting one, because I actually think we could be at the beginning of a second renaissance for the Skoda brand. They've got some really cool cars coming to market across lots of different segments. We had a really interesting briefing today about things like the aerodynamics, and I found it fascinating, the whole wheel design thing. You know, when you see an EV with these Aeroblade wheels, and some of them aren't the best looking wheels that you've ever seen. You think, I prefer a more traditional looking wheel. Well, we actually got shown some comparative CFD, or computational fluid dynamics, diagrams between an Aeroblade wheel and a traditional looking spoked alloy wheel. And you want to buy the Aeroblade wheel because the difference it makes to drag coefficient and aerodynamic efficiency is unbelievable. So I found that really, really interesting. But yeah, beautiful, very interesting part of the world. We're only, I don't know, 5-10 kilometers from the sort of built up town where the factory is, and we're out on these really cool roads. Let's try a bit of acceleration away. Oh, hello. Certainly got the performance. That's all the performance you need. But yeah, very interesting. So I'm going to head on back. We've got lots and lots left to do. As I said, we've got I've certainly got some organising of press cars, and a couple of very interesting challenges. I think Joe and I are going to shoot a video together with Skoda. We're in the planning, so stay tuned for that. Let me know what your favourite Skoda in the range is, and what you think of the new cars that they're bringing to market. I think one of the interesting questions for me about Skoda is the whole brand snobbery thing. Are you able to get beyond? If you're a certain age, you might not even remember Skodas of old and the reputation that they had. Are you able to get beyond that? What's your view of the modern day Skoda brand? Because if you don't remember the past, they make some mega cars, some really mega cars. Anyway, I'm going to enjoy the drive, enjoy these roads. I hope you enjoyed that. Big thanks to Skoda for inviting me out. Great to have yet another brand relationship fired up and on the channel. But if you enjoyed that, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. And I'll see you on the next film, guys. But you take care. Drive safe. Oh. Yeah, I like this car.